So now we're going to talk about materials in SOLIDWORKS Cell. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to go to each group in our speaker project and assign some different options of material or appearance for each of those groups so the customer can choose how they want to customize their desktop speaker. Now, to kind of illustrate an example of this concept, I've brought up a completed project, and you can see with this project we're looking at a model of a ukulele. I'm going to click on the body of the ukulele, and then you can see that I can change the material. So the body of the ukulele is a group, and then I've got these different material options for the group. Now I'm going to go to the neck and the headstock. I can either click on it here in the graphics area or click on it here in the list of groups. Each one of these is a different group. And I'm going to change the material or appearance for that group. I'm going to choose the Dassault logo and I'm going to change the material or the appearance for that group. I'm going to choose the body trim and I'm going to change the material or the appearance for that group. And so on and so on. So that's where we're going with this. We've got these different groups that we've created, and we're going to assign some different available material choices to each group. So where we left off in the last video, we were examining the section for groups, and we were examining the section for set materials. We click set materials, and for this project, we're going to keep things simple. We're just going to allow our users to select from two types of wood for the color of the speaker panels. So we're going to go with a nice walnut here, and we're going to go with a nice simple oak here. So we click on walnut and oak, and we click OK. And we can see that these two material colors are immediately applied to our part model. So our part, which is called bottom panel, exists in this group. If there were multiple parts in this group, like the 6-inch wide and 8-inch wide, those would also automatically get the available colors applied. And we can see that the color that we selected from the library has been mapped onto this part. Now this may or may not be the desired mapping. And we can control that mapping a little bit further down here under where it says UV coordinates. So when we go into UV coordinates, you can see here what the default UV coordinates look like. I think this looks okay, but I think we could probably improve it a little bit. So we could go through and we could change this to XY1 planar. You can see that we can make some adjustments to the rotation. I don't think that looks very good. XZ, YZ, and then we've got this XYZ 3 planar. I think this one works really well, and you can adjust the XY and XZ independent. So depending on which side the material is being mapped onto, you can adjust how the material is being skinned. And then you can also adjust the scale. I like to set this to something usually between like 400 and 1000. I get pretty good results depending on what the scale of the model is. So I'm going to make this 500 here, and I'm going to make this 500 here. And now I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go back to my materials section here and look at the walnut. Yeah, I think the walnut looks pretty good. I think the oak looks pretty good. Let's take a look at some of the other models. So we can go to top here and we can assign our same materials of oak and walnut, but there's a nice shortcut. I can go to bottom and I can say apply properties to other groups, and I can say I want to take the material from bottom and I want to assign that to top. So I say OK, and now we can see when we click on top, top has this same material applied to it. It's got the same oak and walnut, but the UV doesn't really look that good on top. I guess because it's using the default. Yep, see here UV coordinates, it's using default. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to bottom and I'm going to say apply properties to other groups, and I'm also going to choose the UV coordinates and map them to top. So I'm going to say OK, and now when I look at top, now we see that that mapping for the UV, the way that the texture is going to be mapped onto these models, it looks a lot better because now it's matched up with what I did in the bottom panel. So we can do the same thing. We can say apply properties to other groups, and we can say we want to apply the material and the UV coordinate properties to the right panel, the left panel, and the rear panel. And we say OK, and now we can start going through and looking at these different panels. So I'm going to examine the right panel now, and this looks pretty good, but the grain direction is not correct here in the vertical. So I'm just going to start going through and examining my different options here. So let's see here, YZ, nope, that's not the one that I need. There we go, XY, the very first one. So I just adjusted that XY, and now the grain direction looks correct. So that's a quick example of how you can get in and you can work with these UV coordinates, both the scaling options and the grain direction options, in order to get the desired result. So I'm more than likely going to have to do the same thing here on the left panel, and sure enough I did, and now we can see that the grain direction looks correct. And I'm going to go to the rear panel, and you know, we could do the same thing here on the rear panel. We could adjust the grain direction on the rear panel if we wanted that to go vertical vertical rather than horizontal. It's certainly an option, and I think it looks pretty good going vertical rather than horizontal. So I'm going to adjust that as well. And now we're going to go to the final part in our set of parts here, which is the speaker panel itself. And we're going to say that we want to be able to assign some different colors to this speaker panel. Again, we're going to keep it pretty simple. I'm just going to go to plastic here, and I'm going to say that our customers can either make this a dark blue, kind of a nice green, or a black matte. Those are going to be their available choices. So when we go here to our available materials, you can see that we've got this kind of dark blue, we've got this black matte, and we've got this green color that our customers can choose to assign. And for this one, because it's all just one continuous color, we really don't have to worry too much about the UV mapping. So now that we've got our materials assigned to each of our models, we're ready to move on to our assembly and see how all these parts are going to fit together. And we're going to take a look at that in the next video.